listening to Bob Wygant, a 24-year-old musician slash biking enthusiast who recently rode his bike up from Rhinelander, Wisconsin to Lake Superior in northern Michigan.
I grew up outside of Rhinelander, and really, like, my backyard is the woods, so we got trails out here. I've been riding mountain bikes and stuff out here forever, as long as I can remember. We'd take bike trips and that kind of thing. Got into riding BMX for a while too. We'd go build jumps and that kind of thing and dick around out in the woods and stuff, but nothing really on the scale of like long distance anything. It was all pretty short trips and just getting from point A to B, that kind of.
Actually, did you plan the whole trip all the way up to Michigan, or did you have a destination?
It was what I wanted to do was make a trip, a long distance trip that would involve some camping, that kind of thing, in the fall, later in the season. And I wanted to go north just because from Rhinelander you go south and pretty soon you're into like fields and farms and that kind of thing. And I wanted to stick to like the scenic Northwoods kind of trip. So I figured I wanted to go north, and you can only go so far until you get to the lake, Lake Superior. Right. So I figured let's go to Lake Superior, And so I kind of had a vague idea in my head of where I wanted to go, and I like I said, I'd never been on any long distance trips really. I didn't know how far I could even go, and then if I make it, cool. If I don't, no big deal. I will have at least tested myself there and found out how far I can get.
Right. How far was it? Do you know in miles?
Yeah, it was about. My final destination was Bayfield, or I guess Madeline Island via Bayfield. So let's see. I'm trying to remember now. I think my route took me. It was about 130 miles to Ashland, and then from there it's like another. Probably another 25 miles to Bayfield, so like probably on the order of like 150 to 160 miles.
What did you prepare for on your actual physical things you might have brought in your backpack, or what you brought?
Well, it was a camping trip, but it was also kind of just like a travel expedition too. So I had the essentials, sleeping bag, tent, cook stove, that kind of thing. But I also made sure I brought my camera and notebook and that kind of thing. So, I obviously, because, you want to keep the weight to a minimum. So I tried to carry on, only what I really needed. But yeah, I mean, basic camping supplies, food enough for a day or two. I'd stop and I'd buy stuff as I needed it, that kind of thing. Stranger bought me lunch one time. That was kind of cool. It was on my second day of riding, and I was riding into Mellon, Wisconsin, and it had just started raining. And so I think part of it might have been she felt sorry for me, because right around Mellon, it is just really, really hilly territory. It's it's very difficult riding, and it just started raining, and so I think that probably played a part, and she just felt sorry for me. But as I rolled into Mellon, I got off my bike and I was walking through town, and this lady pulled up in front of me, and she got out, and she came up to me, smile on her face, and she handed me a $10 bill, and she's like, this is go buy yourself some lunch. I really like what you're doing. That's really cool that you're doing that. And that's all she had to say. She didn't really want to conversate or anything like that. She just like, here you go.
Hey, nice.
This is just to help brighten up your day, I guess. And it did. It totally did. I sat in Mellon for a little bit, got a nice lunch, and went on my way. But it was cool. It was a nice little thing that was the first of several kind of like little encounters like that kind of just help help
Yeah.
make the trip a little more interesting,
That
a
is
little more
interesting.
tolerable.
Is there any like other random acts of kindness that you ran into, or?
Definitely, definitely. In the morning, it was on my return trip heading back south, and I rode out of Washburn that morning, and I got into Ashland, and my chain was just kind of grinding and needed lubricant, and so I stopped at the bike shop. This was on a Monday, I think. I stopped at the bike shop, and bike shops closed on Mondays. Only bike shop in town. And I stopped at the library to see if there were any other bike shops or if anybody there could help me. And like, oh no, there's really nothing here. So I thought, like, okay, I'll see if I can find a can of WD-40 somewhere, hit up a service station or something like that. But I walked out the library, and as I was unhitching my bike and everything, an older couple came out. They had overheard my conversation, and they said, well, yeah, we can help you out. And they invited me over to their house, which is a few blocks away. And again, complete strangers, never seen them before in my life, but just went out of their way. They invited me over to their home. By the time I got there, they had their garage door open. They had all this, they were obviously bike enthusiasts themselves, and they had like they had like 5 or 6 different cans of lubricant just lined out for me, like, oh, we got this one. This is an oil based. It might work well for such and such. But this one here, this is like a nice wax, paraffin based, such and such. This is really the good stuff. I think we can spare a little bit for you, And so they hooked it up and got me going on my way. And I got to share my story. They were very friendly and just really enthusiastic, really helpful.
How did the weather play a part in this? I mean, whether did you run into?
On a bike, you're totally at the whim of the elements. You're like, if it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain, and you got to deal with it.
Even things like wind, which you totally wouldn't consider when you're in a car.
But the wind, I mean, that really, more than anything, the wind really, really affects the trip. I had on my first day on the return trip, I had a headwind the entire day. It was it was beautiful out. It was sunny, gorgeous fall day, but I had a headwind the entire time, and it really just it made the trip miserable. I mean, it was difficult riding because it was
twice as much energy.
Oh, absolutely!
Right?
It was
fire kind of thing.
it's like riding uphill the whole time.
Right.
Literally, it's literally uphill the whole way when you've got a headwind. And
overall, was it a positive experience for you?
definitely, absolutely,
What are some perspectives that might have changed on your trip from prior to your trip, from before, be it people, places, or just the trip itself?
I know. I never look at a hill the same.
Hey.
It sounds kind of goofy, but really, I mean, I'd see the geography and the topography around me, I guess, a little differently.
Maybe take that in consideration for future trips.
Yeah. And actually, I didn't know this. The route I chose, going north, took me across what they call the Great Divide of Wisconsin, and it's the approximate area, I guess, where on one side the rivers flow north and the other side the rivers flow south, and so it's kind of like this topographical rise,
Like Highland there?
Yeah, and you can kind of imagine on one side it slopes down, the other side it slopes down, and I kind of rode directly across that.
Okay.
So next time I think I'll probably plan my trip around.
Nice.
Growing up here out in the woods, I feel like I have a strong connection with the land, I guess, and with that's, like I said, that's kind of why I wanted to go north rather than south, because I wanted to go through the wood, through the north woods. Mm-hmm. Like, this is where I'm from, this is where I grew up. I love this place, and I kind of wanted to see more of it and kind of experience more of it directly. And that's exactly what I got. I experienced the land, I experienced the weather, I experienced the hills, and the ups and downs and all that. And I got as direct a taste of that, I think, as you can really get, by riding my bike across it. The reasons that I would have mentioned going into it were kind of half-assed, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like, I wanted to go on a trip just because I wanted to go. I could have given you all these reasons and rationalized it, but I just wanted to go. I just wanted to do it. And now I can see that, like, yeah, it really had more to do with, like, expanding my perspective, like I mentioned earlier, kind of getting a closer connection with the land around me, the land that I live in, the land that I'm from, getting to know that a little bit better, a little more personally, and yeah, I guess getting to know myself a little bit more, on that level too, by testing myself. And kind of, when like on a trip like this, you spend a lot of time, in your own thoughts, kind of, working on your own. And I kind of got that out of it. I did get to know myself a little bit better, and everything around me too. So that was kind of cool, I guess.